Okay, so actually in the last class we were discussing about the control unit. If you just 1 second recap. So in control unit module 4, in this chapter we discussed about the two things, that is the hardware control unit and we have the microprogram control unit. And in case of hardware control unit, basically in the 5th semester you will be studying the 8085. Many of you have seen uh, the programming or some video shared by Dev Kumar sir regarding the 8085. Anyways, so in those cases, actually, the 8085 processor, Intel 8085 or Motorola 6802, those are basically some typical examples of the hardware logic circuit, that is a logic control design. Okay, and in certain cases, we will be observing the software, that is the program control. So in those cases, we will be using some different features. So let us have some 2 minutes of সিয়াররা একটু বলে দিস বাবা। উফ। So now I can record, right? So, okay,
This
so
call
in
is
the
now
last
being
class,
recorded.
we discussed about the control unit part, and there were two things, hardware controlled and microprogrammed control unit. The hardware control unit part we discussed in the last class, and what do you mean by this? In short, how can we say that? So this is the type of the control unit where mainly it is focused on the hardwares. Okay, so the control signals are generated by the hardware, okay, using some conventional logic design technique. Okay, so that's why the name is like the hardware control unit. While if you go for any microprogramming control unit, so this is the you can see it is another type of control unit design method, and it is used for designing the control unit in the digital computer. And basically microprogramming concept is used, and there are two microprogramming concept. One is the hardware micro, that is the horizontal microprogramming, another is the vertical microprogramming. Okay, so these two cases we need to think of, and we will start with the microprogram concept. So in the last class, we discussed what do you mean by microprogramming. Actually, this microprogramming control unit consists of one, control memory. Okay, if you just draw the diagram of this, you can find out. If you think of what do you mean by this, I told you it consists of some control memory. I have written many of the things in the slides, but actually the meaning is that I'm telling you all. Okay, so if you feel any something that is need to further clarification, you can just tell me freely. Okay, now if you think of this type of control unit, you have some control memory. In the last class I was discussing, so in there you have certain amount of instruction, and the program is nothing but the collection of instructions. So those instructions are written here. So those instructions are known as the micro instructions, and a collection of micro instruction is known as the micro program, or it is known as the program code. Okay, so these are basically the micro instructions. Now each micro instruction is going to do one or multiple number of micro operations. Okay, so each of the micro instruction is going to perform one or more number of micro operations. Okay, and it is written clearly that the execution of micro instruction, okay, is responsible for the generation of some certain control signal. Why we are using? So definitely control unit means definitely it is going to generate certain control signal. So this is the process. There is no hardware actually who is going to generate the control signal, that we have seen in previous slides. If you remember the slide of the previous day, we have seen that one. What was the circuit I have told you? This was the circuit having some two decoders, one logic gate circuit. That's a control, that circuit that is generating some control signal. As the output was based on this hardware circuit. But in this case, you are having some list of instruction which are there in the control memory, and depending on that, actually, you are going to do this one. Okay. Now, just wait 1 second. Okay. Now, these are the few things. The next slide also it is written what is micro instruction, what is micro program. So micro instruction is the smaller instructions, and micro program is the collection of instructions, micro instructions, and micro operation is the operation performed by the micro instructions. Okay. So these are the theoretical part. The conceptual part I have told you. One point that is very, very important: micro instruction, micro code, and what type of memory we are having. For control memory, we will be always using ROM, okay, read only memory, okay, and that is one extra headache. We have some primary memory. Apart from that, we will be using this ROM. So this is, so always what we want, we do not want too much of larger ROM, okay, because the cost is going to be increased. So one of the major concern of we are whether we are using the horizontal microprogramming concept or vertical microprogramming concept, we will be, the main intention is to make this ROM smaller. So which type we will select, that is depending on whether we will be preferring the horizontal or the vertical microprogramming. So just remember one thing, that control memory where all the microprograms are residing, and that is a collection of micro instruction. Those are basically residing in this ROM. Okay, that is known as the control memory. So advantage, if you think about what are the advantage, I have just pointed out with color. Okay, do not read all these things because the time is short and we have wasted, we are going to waste another week for this practical mid-sem. So I've just pointed out the important terms. You can just note it down for sake of your remembering purpose. Advantage is, what can I say? In the previous hardware control unit, you have a big circuit. So and the complexity was high. But here you have a program based. So you know that the less complex and it is more flexible. Why? Because any circuitry, if you want to implement, you can find out that it is very lots of errors will come, connection problem, or maybe the devices or the internal components are not working. Those things can be there. So that is another problem. So that is the case in case of this micro programming concept, that problems can be eliminated. So it is much more flexible, and you can also modify, correct, and enhance the program if the requirement comes. That's why the software is much more handy than the hardware things. Okay, but basically CS is not applicable if you do not have any hardware from that point of view. Okay. So there are other 2-3 things you can find it out. The new or modified instruction set of the CPU can be easily implemented by rewriting and modifying the content. So modification can be done easily. So it is flexible in that terms. Okay. Okay, another few points are there. So fault can be easily diagnosed because it is the flag register, all these things are there. You do not have any extra hardware that was there in the hardware control unit. Okay, what I am telling, I am just telling the nutshell part, because you see I will be covering this one, I will be covering the RISC and CISC and I will try to start with the input output. Okay, so the detail of this module 4 I will be sharing. No need to worry at all. But the thing is that for your exam purpose you need to write, but the points you need to remember. The explanation you can write by yourself if you understand the thing. Now the microprogram control unit, if you find out, there are certain disadvantages because it is slower compared to the hardware control unit, because in certain cases if the time of execution of the program requires more time, so definitely the process is going to be slower. So it depends on how long the program is going to be, and depending on that, the complexity of the program, the process is going to be faster or slower. Okay, depending on that. Okay, so this is the case, and you can find that it is one thing I missed this one, that is, it is whether it will be expensive or not, that is the case is dependent on the resources. If the hardware is resources requirement was smaller, so you require a smaller. So if you compare these two things, for a smaller CPU design, so it will be expensive, but for the larger case it will not be so much. Okay, so it depends. It is not perfectly okay. That's why I have not given a color wise fashion. So it depends on the size of this processing unit. So, and how much bit you are going to process, depending on that, actually expense is going to be calculated depending on how much memory you will require and how much storage you will be, because it depends on the ROM size, right? So this is a point you can just remember. Okay, so this thing is important as far as the exam is concerned. Please write it down. Some questions, please write it down. আজকে তোরা interaction করছিস না কেন বলতো? ঘুমিয়ে পড়েছিস নাকি? Are you all sleeping?
No, ma'am. Listening you.
Okay, you are tired, right? After 4 classes, you people are tired. I know that. I can feel your pain. Okay, anyways, so the thing is that the diagram is I'm showing you. This is the diagram. So the 2 questions, please write down the question. Okay, question number 1, please, all of you, I request all of you, please write it down, because it's better, the time is short, it is better to be question answer based, because if you read everything, I am sure that it is very difficult to get the pass marks. Question number 1, explain the architecture of the hardware control unit. In short, you please write down, explain the architecture of the hardware control unit. It may be 7 marks or 10 marks. Okay. So you have seen the decoder structure, 2 decoder, 1 logic, control logic gate, that big structure you have to draw and you have to explain that part. Explain the same question, but only the control unit time will be changing. Explain the architecture of the microprogram control unit. This diagram you have to draw along with some explanations are there. Okay. Now, one diagram followed by 2 or 3 slides of explanation. So the explanation part, I am not going through the slides. It's written there, but I'm explaining just normally. So you can think of this is the whole system of the
Ma'am, second question tag with the volume keyboard.
Okay. The first question, the question is that explain and draw the architecture of the hardware control unit. 7 marks or 10 marks. Okay. Same question, explain and draw the architecture of microprogram control unit. Every section you have to draw this diagram and explain like this, 2-3 slides or maybe 10 or 12 points. Okay. These 2 big questions. Okay. Next question you write down the advantages of the hardware, advantages and disadvantages of both the things. Okay. Advantage and disadvantages of microprogram control unit. Another question, write down the advantages and disadvantages of hardware control unit. Okay. So for both the types of control unit, you have to point out certain advantages and certain disadvantages. Like the previous slide, I have pointed out what was the advantages and disadvantages. Okay. Now, third type of question can be state the differences.
Ma'am, second, what was the second question of advantages and disadvantages?
What are the advantages and disadvantages of what are the two control units you have studied? Hardware control unit, and second is the microprogram control unit. For both the cases, you have to study the advantages and disadvantages of hardware control unit as well as the advantages and disadvantages of microprogram control unit. Okay, these points are given. These disadvantages of this, advantages of this, it's already there in your slide. I'm just telling you the question. Obviously, definitely I will give. But I that is my problem. I cannot give separately. After completion, then I will send like merging of all the 4 things. So that's why I'm just keeping this one. I'm telling you one thing. I have opened 4 things. The second is that this all the control unit module is a theoretical module. The risk and sys part is there. This is another part. You see, the control unit continuation is here. Risk and sys can only 10 slides are there. All are theory. What is risk and sys architecture? Explain the difference between risk and sys. You write it down. আমি বলে বেরিয়ে যাব ঠিক আছে what is risk and sys architecture? Explain its characteristics. That is question number 1. It can be separated. Explain the risk and sys characteristics, or explain the difference between the risk and sys. These are the typical theoretical question. It used to come from module 4. Okay. Shall I have to repeat?
No, ma'am.
Okay, risk and sys, normal characteristics of risk. Maybe if it is 5 plus 5, then characteristics of risk. I will be telling you some characteristics. 5 and then sys 5. Okay, and if I tell you certain features or comparisons, then that means the difference between risk and sys. Got it? So from this slide, you will be getting 3 types of question. Okay. And the previous slide, the first one that I was explaining, I have already told you the 2 architecture, advantage and disadvantage, and the next part that I will be explaining. Okay. Next, let me start the question answer part. Any doubt from anyone? Please, for this part, please tell me clearly. Okay. Because if I go through every slide, it is difficult because I have to cover certain modules. That is also true. So the explanation part I am telling you that it is given in detail in the slide. You see that what is happening here. You write 2 small questions. What is CAR and what is CDR? Okay. If it is offline question, then 2 marks question will also come in case of 2, 5 and 15. So CAR and CDR, what are the things you need to understand? This is basically the CAR and basically this is a CDR. What are its application? I will be telling. Now I am explaining. Please listen carefully. So if you think about this one, so you can see the steps are already there. Okay. Now it is a generalized structure and the control memory is assumed to be a ROM. That I have explained you in the previous slide itself. That this is the control memory you can see in between the RAM, and that is the CDR and CA. That is this one is the control memory. Okay. So what is, you just note it down one point, that this is the ROM actually, and it is going to store the control information. You just point it out. It stores all the control information permanently in the ROM. Okay. It stores the control information permanently in the ROM because it is not RAM. It is ROM. It is stored permanently. Okay. Now, what about the CAR? CAR is basically the control address register. Okay, or in any other books, it is control memory address register that specifies the address of the micro instruction. Like you have seen, that is the MAR you have seen, like a memory address register, like it was a primary memory, right? MAR, MBR, memory buffer register, like that. It is a control memory, so it will be control memory address register. That is a control address register, CAR, that stores the address of the micro instruction. And if you think of the next one, that is the CDR, you have seen here, this is a CDR, and the CDR is going to store the data that is fetched from the memory. So it is given there in the next slide. So it is going to store the data, it is store the data, and it is going to store the address, and it is going to store the instruction. Okay, now what is this next sequencer means what is going, you have seen the program counter that is going to store the address of the next instruction, like that. What is going to be the next address, that is basically generated by this sequencer circuit or next address generator. So the next address, what is the next address, or in the next which micro instruction is to be executed, right? That one is to be, so that address needs to be stored, because lots of micro instructions are there. Suppose is the first micro instruction, so whatever is the address, some address is there, that is stored here. Okay, and then the data from this fetched from some memory or some other portion. And then what is going to be the next micro instruction, that is the address is going to be calculated by this next address generator circuit, or it is known as the sequencer circuit. Okay, so that those are the basic 6 points that are given here. So control address memory, that is a CAR, actually specify the address of the micro instruction. I told you the control memory is ROM, okay, which stores all the information permanently, and control data register, that is CDR, actually holds the micro instruction that are obtained from the memory after fetching from the memory whatever that is stored in this CDR. But normal case we write it is a MBR for from my, if it is from primary memory. Now, so this is the thing, if it, I'm not telling you all the things. So micro instruction control, the control word, and one more than one micro operation, all the details I have told you. One point I like to tell, the next address is computed in the next address generator circuit. In the figure I have already told you, the first block was, you have seen, that is the sequencer block that is going to generate the, what is going to be the next address that is to be fetched. Okay, and that is transferred to the control address register, that is in the CAR, that is transferred. Okay, so this is all about the thing, and the next address generator is known as the sequencer. Okay, this is the thing. So that's that diagram and that explanation. So what is the CAR, what is CDR? Okay, that are explained here. The address of micro instruction to be stored, the data that you have fetched, that is stored in CDR, and the micro instruction contains many control words that can use, or that can be used for executing the multiple number of operations. And after all the execution, some control function, or like some control signal is going to, after all this means instruction execution, what is going to happen? It is going to generate certain control signal, maybe some read signal, some write signal, some transfer signal, some controlling signal are to be generated after the execution of this type of instruction or set of microprogram. Okay, now if you think about the structure of the micro instructions that are, so within the control memory, some micro instructions are stored. Like how it is stored like this way. Okay, so there are basically 3 fields you can find, and the condition field, branch address field, and all these things. I will show you how it is going to be used, and this is basically the architecture in detail. Now, if I want to tell how it works, I need to explain in a bit in a detailed manner. Okay, how it works. Okay, now you can find out that what are the terms present, or what are the component present. You have some multiplexer here, And the way the multiplexer works, you know, it is a select line that is select, the select condition is there, that is going to select, it is working as a select line, and this is the output of the multiplexer. So two things can happen: either it is going to load something, or it is going to increment something. So from the line, can you tell me, if, because this is a one line, so either it will be 0 or 1, can you tell me if the output is 1, then which operation is going to happen? Can anybody please can you tell? If a line is like this and it is written as, this line is load slash inc bar. So load is basically, it is going to load something, and increment, in short, we are writing inc bar. আজকে কি বোরিং পড়াটা মনে হচ্ছে? আমার মনে হচ্ছে, তাই তো? Anyways, so we can think of, depending on the selection condition, the output is going to be stored. Okay, so if this output is going to be 1 or 0, so if it is this line output is 1, then load operation is going to happen. And if it is, you can see inc bar, that is active low signal. Okay, if it is 0, then increment operation is going to happen. Okay, so you can check what is the selection condition. Depending on that, there will be two outputs.
Ma'am, your voice is cracking too much.
Now is it cracking?
No, ma'am, it's clear now.
Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what I told, that depending on this condition, there will be two outputs, either 1 or 0. You can say either true or false. So if the condition is like that, so it is working as the select line. So if it is true, then load operation is going to happen, and if it is false, then increment operation is going to happen. Is it clear to you now? Now, can you tell me, if it is 1, load operation is going to happen, which is going to be loaded? You can see this MPC means the microprogram counter. You have seen the PC, right? Program counter, but it is related to the small control memory, and this is the microprogram related concept. So it is microprogram counter. So the microprogram counter is going to be loaded with what? Can anybody please tell? You see, in the microprogram, this block, some input is coming from the branch address. Okay, so if I am writing in short, so if it is true, that is this line input is 1, that is it is true, so the microprogram control, this is unit, is basically loaded with the branch address. And if it is 0, we can find some increment operation, like program counter was incremented, right? So here microprogram counter will be incremented. So in short, I can write this one. So if you have this output of marks equal to 1, then which operation? Load operation is going to happen. And loading means what? You can see the branch address is going to be loaded to MPC. Okay, and if the marks output is going to be 0, that means INC bar operation, that's the increment operation, is going to happen. And in that case, MPC, that is a microprogram counter value, will be incremented. Is it clear to you? So you may need to explain, draw this diagram and explain this if we are asking for the architecture of the microprogram control unit. So the small diagram as well as this diagram, both the diagrams you need to just draw and explain. Okay. In short, I am telling this one. Is it clear to you? And one point that is important, that the functional output, you can see the control function. this control function, whatever is the output, that is passed through the decoder, and we are getting some control signal. So your intention is to ultimately get this control signal. That is the thing. So after all these things, what you are getting? You are getting some control signal out of this. Okay. So it is all dependent. And can you just see this one? The whole thing is nothing but this one. Right? আজকে কি হয়েছে রে তোরা এরকম কেন মানে ডিমোরালাইজড হয়ে আছিস কেন বলতো ইয়েস
And that MPC part যখন ব্রাঞ্চ অ্যাড্রেসটা আবার লোড হচ্ছে তো ব্রাঞ্চ অ্যাড্রেস থেকে এক্স্যাক্টলি কি ভ্যালু যাচ্ছে মানে এখান থেকে কি ক্যারি ফরওয়ার্ড হচ্ছে
branch address, maybe some jump instruction is there, or you have some load instruction is there. Then those instructions JMP, you have seen the different types of addressing modes. You have not studied the addressing mode, right? So there are different types of instruction, that is jump or load, some loading of memory. So you need to do some branching. So it is not situated in the register. It is you are jumping to the main memory and doing. So some jump addresses are there. Suppose you are just jumping from the main memory to another memory location. Okay, like this is known as the indirect addressing mode. So in this type of cases, this next address will be what? That is going to be loaded, because program counter, you know the concept of program counter. Suppose there is some memory and the address is 8000. Here the program is like add like 5. The two parts are stored in two different consecutive addresses. Now, if you do this, there is no requirement of branch, right? Because or ADI 5. So accumulator content will be added with 5 and it will be stored in accumulator back. There is no requirement to have some jump instruction. But there are certain instruction where I just like to tell one thing. I'm just skipping the slide, okay? Because you do not know this one. Can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you done this type of question? That is how many types of addressing modes are there? You see, the addressing modes are actually the way you are taking the operands from memory and the register. Okay, so if you require, there are certain types of addressing modes, like you have the indirect addressing mode and you have the indexed addressing mode, or these typically, or not all, certain addressing modes are actually using some jump type instructions. So I am showing you certain picture. You may have, I will try to cover this one. This is the direct, and you can find this some relative addressing mode, or you can find this indirect one. Where is the, okay. Now, if you have this type of addressing mode, you can find that I'm just showing for sake of your answer. Okay, you have certain instruction like move a comma m. You do not know what is m. M is the memory. Actually, in the HL register pair, HL register is a CPU register. You know, within the CPU, lots of registers are there, like A, B, C. So HL is generally the 8085 microprocessor. We use the HL register pair. So in the HL, you can find whatever is the M value that is not coming to A. Is it clear to you? I'm just writing. Understand the things, okay? Whatever is the content of M is what? M is actually residing. HL means 2805. So 2805 is the location. This is a memory actually. It is containing A9 value. The value is A9. The value is not 2805. So it means if some movement is required, like A is one open accumulator and you are actually want to insert some values from M, but it is not M, that is, it is not 2805. Instead of that, you are going to the whatever is the content of A9, that you are actually transferring here. That means after the execution, actually instead of 2805, it is going to have A9. You can see here accumulator was blank, right? Accumulator was blank. But after execution of this code, you got this accumulator filled with certain values, that is nothing but the content of the address 2805. Have you got some idea? So have you got some idea? Once, okay.
Little, please repeat.
Okay. So when actually this part is not done in your module 1, that's why you are not understanding the thing. There are certain addressing modes available. One of the addressing mode is basically this type of thing, that is move A comma M. Now definitely one thing I'm just telling you, if I tell you like just one this way, I'm rough work I'm doing, like move or MVI A comma 5. Do you require any memory transformation or jump to memory? Do you understand how, where is the CPU, where is the memory? See, within the CPU you have the ALU and CU and different registers are there. Okay, so A is nothing but such register, but here is the memory. On here is the cache memory is there. It's not control memory, it's cache memory. So there are certain connections you have studied, right? So when you are doing some indirect addressing or something like that, the content that you want to fetch to accumulator, you want to fetch something in the accumulator, but that is not here in BC, or so there are other register B, C, or HL is also there. Okay, there are other register HL. So HL is basically the register that is going to contain the current address of the memory. Please note it down. The HL register that is used to point out the current address of the memory. So this is basically the current address, because 2805 is showing this, right? Up to this point, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if the current, so in the HL register pair, suppose you have 28 and then another have 05. So collectively you can find out, you can, without knowing something, you can say now the pointer is indicating at 2805 location of the memory. So if you think of the memory like this, so here in some position of 2805, this A9, the A9 is there. Okay. So if you change it to, suppose you do some clarification, if I change it to 2806, can you tell me if HL values are going to be 2806? Can you tell me what is the value? Where the pointer is going to point? Here, right? So yes, the content of HL is going to be changed in the CPU register, but ultimately it is indicating where? It is indicating some position in the memory, the current position in the memory. So when you are doing some indirect addressing or some branch addressing, the operand that are residing in the memory, that are not, for this case the M5 value was there in certain register, general purpose register of the CPU. It is not in memory. Okay, I have told you accumulator, general purpose register, and H and L are basically the special purpose registers. Okay, A is general purpose register. We are using what we have studied, we are actually using all those things simultaneously. So that's why you feel bored in COA. So you do not understand from where we should start and where we should stop. Okay, that is the problem is quite valid. I cannot just tell that it is not valid. So I am just repeating once again that if you have certain values that are given in HL, that shows the position this one and where the some value is stored. Now, if you are going to execute this move instruction, now it is before the instruction execution, the storage is like this because the accumulator is vacant. Now, after move instruction, move this to this. It means move the content of memory to this. So this is going to be a branch, right? Some branching is there. So you can find out that this is going to be moved to this. Now is it clear to you? So when you are doing such type of branching or some jump, in another case you can find out the relative addresses are there. So some value is to be added. If I say everything in one class, you will be confused. Okay, at least 5% idea is clear how the addresses are calculated. So this type of certain address values are actually given in this field, branch address, like you have the 2805 or something like that. Okay. So there will be two things. One is the horizontal programming and another is the vertical programming concept. And depending on the length of the micro instruction. So what is micro instruction? This is the micro instruction, like these three fields are there. So the length is how many bits are there in this. So we want the instruction to be larger or smaller. Can anybody please tell from general point of view? Smaller, because there is a collection of instruction that will be residing in the control memory, right? So if you require a smaller instruction, that means the size of the memory will be less, and that is the cost effective, right? So if the size of the instruction is less, that leads to the cost effectiveness of control memory. Are you getting my point? Yes or no?
Ma'am, just please repeat this sentence again. Actually, yes. I couldn't hear you.
Yes, yes. I told you that you want the memory, whether it is larger or smaller, which one if you prefer? As per the cost is concerned?
Ma'am, smaller, because small will cost less.
Cost less, yes, definitely. Cost will be less. Okay. So if the instruction size or length, because I told you one instruction is stored, then two instruction in multiple instructions are stored in the control memory, right? So if one instruction is going to take a longer length like this is a structure. What is the length of this? This is basically the length. So if the length is going to be larger, then the size will be expanded, right? Yes. Memory size will be expanded. So if the memory size is going to happen,
cost will be more.
Got it? So basically this is the thing. This is the format for one instruction, you can say. This is for one instruction. Lots of instructions are there. Okay, so depending on the length of this, actually we are going for two types or two patterns, whether we will go for horizontal or we will go for vertical. Okay, now let's see the thing. You have seen the three fields, right? Control bit, condition branching, and next instruction. If you remember, the condition select or condition, then the branch, and you have the control field. Okay, the same pattern, maybe the shifting this side, that side may happen, it may vary. So please mention in the decoded binary form. 1 bit for one, what is CS? What is CS? That is, for this bit is responsible for one control signal. This bit is responsible for the second control signal. This bit is responsible for the third control signal. So if you want to activate, suppose 100 control signals, so how many bits do you have to put here?
100 bits.
Yes. Exactly, 100 bits. So for one control signal, you have to put 1 bit. For second control, third control. So what can we do simultaneously? If I extend the length of this part, I can say that it is very difficult to draw. So if I want to extend this length, what is the advantage you will get? Many control signal you can generate, and it is not dependent on other, right? If I want to switch it on and off, only one. Multiple, suppose I want to make on all that 10 or 100 signals simultaneously, I will make it on all the 10 or 100 signals. I will. So it is not, interdependence is not there. Okay, so you have learned one thing, high degree of parallelism. That is, if I want to increase the number of control signals, you can increase by increasing the number of bits. Is it understandable? But,
Yes,
but the problem lies that if you increase the length, what is the problem? If the length is going to be increased of the instruction or this format, then you have the memory size is going to be increased. Then you have the cost will be increased. So these are intelligent. So if you understand the thing, you can write in the exam hall. It's not, no need to mug up. Understand the concept and you can just write it point wise. So the larger instruction size due to the long format, because if you want to insert more control signals, so larger will be the size, and definitely the cost is going to be higher. That is going to be the disadvantage, you can say. The cost high is not advantage. This is the disadvantage. But the advantage is that simultaneously, if I increase the number of bit, 10, 100, or maybe if I want 120 or 256 number of control signals, I can use. So this is the advantage. The parallelism can be increased. Okay. But the problem is that the cost is going to be increased also. Okay, so if you want to have in control signal, you require in control bit for encoding. So here you require in control bit. Now the second case is the vertical program control unit. What is the change? I have used this. So here you can find you have used a fixed number of things. I have not used some dotted line. So you can find that for n number of control signal, the number of encoding is this. That means I'm just telling you one thing, okay? It will be easier for you to understand because these things are there in MTech architecture also, okay? It's not, so conceptually you will feel difficult, but many of you will be doing some MTech course if you want. So there also you will be finding. Suppose for the previous case, I'm just telling you, I will not take too much of your time. Suppose for the first case horizontal unit, if this part I am just putting only this part, not the rest part, is having 4 bits. Can you tell me how many things control signals, 4 control signals it is going to generate? Are you getting my point? Now, if it is 4 control signals, I can write like you can have, or you can think of that C1 is basically a control signal, C2, C3, and C4. Okay. Now, if C1 is 1, remaining control things will not work, right? And then maybe some register transfer is going to happen. Suppose some register R is there. This picture is there in the book of TK Ghosh, you can find. If the second control signal is going to be activated, some another register transfer is going to happen. If the third control bit is going to be activated, some another register transfer is going to happen. If the fourth thing is going to be activated, maybe some other. So if for different register transfer, different control signals are activated, and you can see there are 4 control signals activation points, so you can use 4 transfer. And if all the things are 0, 0, that is, there is known as the NOP, no operation. NOP is known as the no operation. Okay. So can you tell me these 4 things, can we, or you can say how many things are there? 5 patterns, right? For it can be the 5 patterns are there. So if 5 patterns are there, can we encode this one into 3 bits? Like encoding in digital you have done? Can we do that? Now for this case you can find if a particular pattern you want to get, suppose if it is 3 bits, maybe if it is 0, 0, 1, then only C1 is going to be at the output. If it is 0, 1, 0, okay, or you can say there can be how many number of three things. So how many number of outputs that it can generate? Can you tell me if it is in the encoded format? বুঝতে পারছিস কি বললাম? If there are 3 bits, 2 to the power 3 number of control signal can be generated, right? So there are 3 things. It can be 0, 0, 0 or 0, 0, 1 or 0, 1, 0 or 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. So depending, but there we are using 3 bits, right? We are using 3 bits or 3 flip-flops or 3 bits of memory. But if we are changing the number of control signal, amount is going to be changed. But in the previous case, what we did, if we are using 4 bits, then 4 control. If we are using 5 bits, then 5 control. But here we are using 3 bits. So maximum 2 to the power 3 number of control bits can be generated. Okay, so definitely the cost is going to be a bit lower side because the size of this control is maybe it is having for 3 bits. Okay, so this is the advantage. The smaller is the memory size. Okay, and definitely the program size is also smaller because the microprogram size is smaller. That's why the instruction size is smaller, because this is the instruction size. Then if it is this is smaller, then microprogram size will smaller, and ultimately the size of memory requirement will even be smaller. Is it clear to you? And if you go for the difference, you please note this question also, difference of this, that is the hardware control and the software control. What is going to be the difference in between these two? Any doubt? Actually, I am not observing the chat box. Do you have any query related to this? Okay. Now you can find that there are different application of decoder in every segment, whether it is control unit of hardware control or microprogram control. You can see everywhere there is an application of decoder. Okay, you have seen also. So one thing, yes, it's correct. It's correct. There will be 8 control signals. So if I want to use 16 control signal, if I want to find out 16 or 256, that is log of 256 base 2 will be the number of bits. Okay, that is the thing. So please note the questions also. What are the difference between this two hardware control and microprogram control? This is, you can just do it. It is faster and this is slower. This is more and this cheaper. Is the cost is basically dependent, but still if the hardware cost is more, we can find it more, but it depends, as I told you. It depends on the total thing, the size of the control memory and all the associated devices. Okay. Flexibility wise, the microprogram control unit is even flexible, but this is not flexible. Okay, I am sharing you the attendance link because you have your next class. I will be telling you, but okay, so this is all about the thing, and I have given 1 or 2 assignments like the differences between these two, or you have to draw the architecture, the type of questions, or it may happen that the
response on করে দিন ma'am.
Okay. Now, the second thing that I like to say is the risk and CISC. I will not take too much of your time. You feel bored, I know, because it's a theoretical subject and it is nearly end of the day. So there are 2 things I told you. The explain the characteristics of risk. That is the question number 1. Explain the characteristics of CISC and write down the differences between the risk and CISC. 3 types of question. Please note it down. Okay. Now, if you think of the RISC and CISC, the CISC architecture was actually invented prior to RISC architecture. And you can find out that there are a lot of inventions, and as I told you, the Intel 8085, the initial 8085 thing, and that used the hardware control unit. I gave the example, and that also used the RISC architecture. Okay, so this is the thing. And if you find out in short what are the differences, basically if you think of the in a nutshell, I'm telling you, the RISC is basically the reduced instruction set architecture. That's a computer, and you have seen here reduced instruction set means this is quite less complex, and the first one was CISC, that is a complex instruction set computer. And actually, if you think of that, the first one, CISC, has the ability to execute the addressing mode or multiple step of operation within one instruction. So it's quite complicated. If you just multiply, if you want to multiply 2 numbers, you just write MUL and one long instruction, and you do not require any other instruction to compute. But when you are coming to the CISC, that is a RISC architecture, you are breaking the long instruction, which is computationally complex, into some smaller set of instruction, so that it will be easier to compute. So the first CISC architecture required a complex instruction set, and some from the name itself you can find the RISC architecture requires a reduced instruction set. Okay, that is the primary thing. And if you want to give some example, you have all the Intel type of processors. Okay, they have used the hardware type of control unit. Sometimes they uses the CISC architecture, and it was much more before. It's not now. In the previous 1970s or prior to that, they use the CISC architecture. Okay, 70s, or you have 69, 70 like that. After 70 to 80, 1970 to 80, we just come to this RISC type of, and later we are also using the RISC also. Okay, so if you think of this one by one, I'm telling you. So you can think that the CISC is the complex instruction set architecture, and as I told you that low-level operation, multiple low-level operation can be done, but each instruction, so in one instruction only multiple operations we are doing. Suppose you are using some MUL instruction, that is a multiply MUL instruction if you are doing. So within one instruction you are doing everything. You are loading something from memory, you are loading something from memory, and you are doing some multiplication, and again you are storing something in memory. So is a memory fetching operation is there, and it is, any doubt? It is going to be a complicated one. And you know that if you want to reduce the program size, the program, if one instruction is going to do multiple operation, in this case we are not using too many instructions, okay? So the program size is going to be smaller, okay? It is a smaller program size, because if one instruction is going to do multiple things, loading, storing, and all those things, we do not require those terms like load, store, and all the intermediate, increment, decrement, all these things are not required. So previously, using some complex hardware architecture, these were used and these were implemented. Like you have some example like IBM 370, okay, so or VAX types of processor, or IBM 370 processor or VAX processors used to do this one. But nowadays, we always use the RISC type of, not CISC, okay. So you have a large number of instructions, that is instructions are available, and some instructions are also typical, and even they are not frequently used, okay. And you have a larger addressing mode. It's not 12 addressing modes. So the slide I have told you, only nowadays we are using the 12 addressing mode, but even it was up to 20 number of addressing modes, okay. And the format was also variable, instruction format. See, from chapter 1, all these things, questions will be given, okay? Instruction format, 1 address operand, 2 address operand, 3 address operand, von Neumann architecture, Howard architecture, difference between these two, different types of operating systems, okay? Operations of those operating system, layers of computers. Please go through all these things, okay? Do not forget to remember all those, okay? So in the complex instruction, we have this one complex instruction decoding scheme, and that is advantage. Definitely, it will be complicated one. Okay, so you have the increased amount of controls unit, and you have the bigger circuit. Definitely because it's based on the hardware I told you, right? So the unit that's the hardware complexity is already there. So as bigger is the hardware circuit, logic delays, logic gate delays. I should write logic gate delays. So logic gate delays will be even more. Okay. Now, need of RISC is basically to one line you must understand speed to be increased. Okay, speed to be increased, that is very common thing. The efficiency of RISC is very one complicated instruction into multiple instructions. Okay, so what is the disadvantage? Can you tell me? You are writing one instruction that is very complicated, and you are eliminating other instruction. That happened in CISC. And in RISC, we are using smaller types of instruction and multiple way. Can you tell me what is the drawback of RISC? Any common sense? Okay, so definitely the program size, the last point I told you, the program size previously it was smaller, but in this case the program size will be larger, right? Because you are using multiple things. Okay, now these are the basically theoretical part, this point. So this is utilize a small highly optimized set of instruction. That point you just understand. And there are certain histories, like you have the IBM processor or the MIPS is a very famous, this MIPS, many of the cases we find this one, MIPS processor, okay? This is very commonly used term. And these are the processors in the latter late 80s you can find. 80 or 89, 70 to 80. So after the invention of CISC, these processors actually came into picture with a much more optimized set of instructions. Okay. Now, one point I would like to say that one cycle of execution time they require, that is CPI. What is CPI? Please note down the question. What is CPI? There's a clock per instruction. How much clock cycle it requires? They require actually a single clock cycle to execute it. Okay. And the concept of pipelining that we will study in chapter 5, that is used in this nowadays. All the processors we use, they uses the pipelines, okay, multi-processing pipeline and all these things. So pipelining means multiple jobs we can do simultaneously. Like if you make one roti, if the time taken to make one roti is suppose 20 minutes, you will just do all the processing intermediate stages. But if multiple persons are there and they are doing stage by stages, so none of the stage task is going to be unused. Okay, I will show you how to do it. And another point is that large number of registers are there. So CPU registers here we will be using. Nowadays you have seen, right, HL, JK, B, C, D, E, all CPU registers, large amount of CPU registers nowadays we use. All the processors we will be using the next semester, 8085 and all those things, they are basically RISC type of processors. Okay. So 1.1 cycle execution time, pipelining concept, and large number of registers. So these are certain characteristics you have, and you can study and you can just go through. And the comparison part, you can just think of what are the thing I have told you. You have this richer instruction set, but it is complicated definitely. But it is primitively simpler instruction set, and that is quite simple. It takes more than one cycle, but it takes one cycle, because if you do multiple MUL operations, so multiple MUL multiply operation take definitely multiple cycle, because it will be load in with it will be going to calculate some arithmetic operation, arithmetically it will multiply and then it will store the operand, that's the result, to the memory back. Okay, so definitely multiple clock cycles, but here as you are using multiple instruction in between, so you will be requiring one clock per instruction. Okay, so there is no concept of pipeline. The few points that is important you must write. I am not telling to write every point, but certain things we should check, okay, whether you are writing all these things or not. So this is all about the RISC and CISC in short, and the typical type of question that might come, I have already told you. Okay. Now, one thing I like to mention here is the last one is this one, that is a input output organization, is the last part of the module 4. And you have seen that input output organization means IO. We know that it is IO related operation. So IO is what? Different, like your mouse, keyboard and all these things are basically IO, input output devices. Okay, so there how it works and what are the fundamental mechanism that are used are given here. So please just go through 1, 2, 3 points. Like when you are doing some data transfer between the computer and like some outside world, so you are pressing the key or keyboard or you are clicking the mouse, whatever you are doing, so this is outside world, right? So and you have some computer, so there should be some communication in between the outside world and your computer, and who is going to govern all these things? The IO devices and some IO mechanisms are there. Okay, so you can have these IO devices. So you have this IO devices, those are known as the peripherals. So it can be your less, like I told, the mouse, monitor, printer, these are the IO devices. Okay, now if you think of this type of devices, so all this hazy picture is there, but you can see speaker, monitor, all the CD system unit, all these things are there. These are working as the IO devices. Now, basically, there are two peripheral devices, if you think of within this IO. One is the IO interface, another is the IO driver. Okay. So, who is going to deal with this IO interface and IO driver? And what do you mean by IO interface? Okay. So, you need to understand this too. You have seen many things, but you need to understand in this concept. So actually IO interface, I'm showing you the picture, you will feel interested. Actually IO interface are like this one, USB and this one. Like you have, this is the SCSI, okay, small computer system interface. These are basically the IO interface devices. We used to put the outer one, like you implement the whatever the keyboard, or you insert this one through those devices, right? So pen drive, whatever you give. So these are basically the interfaces. Now come to the theory part. I'm just showing the picture at that point of time because it's all about the theory. Okay. Now, if you think of the IO interfaces, basically it is the hardware device. You have seen this one in the picture. Is the hardware devices that provides a means of transferring the information between the input output device and the CPU, right? And definitely, if you think of this one, so the peripheral devices connected to a computer, these are the known things. I'm not repeating, but these are the basically the preliminary things. I need IO interface circuit for interfacing the CPU and the memory. Okay, so you have seen those devices are required to interface between the outside, the whatever keyboard or mouse, whatever you say, to the CPU. That's the first point. Now, second point, how it works and why it is required, that is given. So, you can do it by yourself. Now, if you have some CPU here and if you have some mouse here, it is some electronic device, right? The CPU is basically some electronic device. And if you have some mouse here, so you have some you are pressing something, it is getting optically connected and it is passing, the optical signals are passing, optical signals are connected, converted into electrical, some transducers are there, and then it is passing through the interface. Okay, so there is certain thing that is connecting your CPU and all these things. So this is electronic device, and if you think of this is basically the electromechanical device. So if you see the speed between these two, so this is definitely faster and this is definitely slower. So there is a speed disparity between the CPU speed and the mouse speed. So you need some interface that is going to take care of this. Okay, so it is basically the synchronization part is there. Okay, and the requirement is there, I should say. And some data formats are there because the electrical format, that the thing it is coming from, you are pressing something, so mechanical part is there, some optical mouses are there, so some optical signal is there, so you are, the changes or modulation of the optical signal is there, and if you are finding some output, it is maybe the electrical, so data conversion from one form of energy to another form of energy is there, and the formatting part is there. Okay, so different data codes and formats in the peripherals differ from word format in the computer, and so you need some the interface is going to make some compatibility, I can say, in short. Okay, so all the things related theories are there, supervise and synchronize input output and what are the jobs they are doing. Now, IO interface, this is important. IO interface, basically, see, you can see there are three buses. These buses are known as the data bus, address bus, and control bus. What we are doing, just listen carefully. This is one type of question. Explain the working principle of IO interface with proper diagram. Please write down the question. Explain the working principle of IO interface with proper diagram. Okay. So I will not take too much of time, or shall I quit because it is a 3:27. You have another class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. I thought of 2 periods, right?
From 2 to 10 we had, yes. 2 until 3.
Okay, sorry. Actually, I have not noticed the watch. Sorry.
Maybe leave.
We should leave. Okay, I'm just ending the session. All of you, please go to the next class. I have not noticed it about the time. Please rejoin your next class. Okay, I'm ending the session.